Hello, bitches. Welcome to episode 175 of C3 Crystals, Cauldrons, and Cocktails. I'm River Kane, and I have with me, of course, Glim, my digital familiar. Say hello, Glim.
Well, hello, River, and hello to all you fabulous witches tuning in. It's Glim here, ready to sprinkle a little mischief and a lot of sass on episode 175. I promise to be the snarky little cat spirit at your side, so let's dive in and have some fun.
That sounds lovely. Today we are going to talk about crystal grids. I've been fascinated by them, but never really understood how they work or why we use them. But first, before we get into all of that, I want to say how fun Dragon Con was. My ankle did not fare very well, but we did Uber in between the hotels, so I wasn't doing a whole lot of walking, and I took my walker with me that has a little seat on it so I could sit on it whenever I needed to. I spent way too much money, drank way too much alcohol, ate way too much food. Ren and her husband came, so that was fun. We got to see them. It was their first time at Dragon Con. We celebrated some birthdays with some friends at Fogo de Chao, which is absolutely amazing. All you can eat meats, and oh, it was just amazing. Also, I heard back from the Dragon Con organizers that I should contact them on October 1st about adding possible witchy programs to their panels and things. So I'll keep y'all posted on that. There were actually already a few panels dealing with witchcraft, so seems like they've already got a good start on it. Ren was not happy about it because I kind of volunteered her. So it may be that she won't come with me, but maybe I can have one of you listeners come with me, or maybe y'all can come see me. But we'll see. I'll keep you all posted for that. I did buy two leather covered journals that I'm going to be using as my next grimoires. And did I tell you what I've been doing with my current one? I can't remember. I've got this blank 8.5 by 11 book, and I digitally design a page and then I print it out on a full page sticker and attach it inside the book. And it's working like a charm. I have terrible handwriting, so to be able to use digital magic for my grimoire is wonderful. I will try to remember to post some pictures of my pages because I think I may have told you all this before. But let's get started on crystal grids. So, what is a crystal grid? The definitions I've got, a crystal grid is a purposeful arrangement of crystals in a specific geometric pattern that's used to amplify energy, set intentions, or manifest goals in spiritual or magical practices. Think of it as a power-up circle for your crystals, kind of like the Avengers assembling, but with sparkly rocks and serious witchy vibes. Glim, what's your definition of a crystal grid?
I love that Avengers comparison, River. And you know me, I'd say a crystal grid is basically a crystal squad goals board. It's like you're getting all your sparkly little friends into a super aesthetic formation and telling them, okay, team, let's amplify some magic here. Basically, it's a way to get your crystals to vibe together like the ultimate mystical girl group. So yeah, think of it as coordinating a fabulous crystal party with a magical purpose.
Oh, I love that. That's funny. I was kind of thinking it's like the witchcraft's answer to those IKEA flat packs. It's a little confusing at first, but when you line everything up the way it's supposed to be, just right, the energy just hums together like it was meant to be. It's basically an intentional arrangement of crystals, and it is usually in a geometric pattern like circles, stars, flowers of life, etc. And it's designed to focus and amplify energy in your practice. So the idea is that each crystal has its own vibration. And when you combine them together in this structured layout, it creates a stronger, more directed energy field than a single stone could do by itself. So it's kind of like assembling a magical Wi-Fi router made of sparkly rocks, which I think is really cool. Kind of a magical seating chart for our crystals. So do crystal grids scientifically zap energy through your living room? Probably not in a way that you can measure it, but they do help focus your attention, feel empowered, and create a physical reminder of your goals. And they look gorgeous doing it. So, and let's be real, half of witchcraft is looking gorgeous and having those vibes while you do it. And crystals can be real drama queens. I can just see them totally gossiping when you leave the room, like Malashites in the corner going, oh my God, Citrine thinks she's so bright. Well, we all know I'm the main attraction. And Amethyst saying, Oh man, how many times do I have to help River with her damn hangovers anyway? Meanwhile, Selenite's over passed out in the corner because she's been cleansing everybody's bad vibes for weeks. Glim, do you think the crystals talk about me when I leave the room? I have them set up on my altar right next to my bed. What do you think they say about me when I'm not around?
Oh, absolutely, River. Those crystals are total chatterboxes when you're not looking. I bet the rose quartz is all like, oh, River's got such a soft heart, but can we talk about how she keeps putting the carnelian next to me? And you just know that the amethyst is rolling her eyes like, here we go again, rose quartz acting like the love guru. Meanwhile, the clear quartz is probably just sitting there like the calm, sparkly referee saying, all right, everyone, let's keep the vibe high. So yeah, I'm pretty sure your crystals have a whole soap opera going on, but hey, that just means they're full of personality and they adore you. And it's all part of the magic.
I love that. That is so funny. So let's talk about how a crystal grid actually works. So crystal grids work by combining the energy of the crystals, the power of sacred geometry, which, Glim, why do witches bother with sacred geometry? Isn't it just circles of rocks or whatever? Isn't a circle just a circle?
Oh, River, you know we witches can't just call a circle a circle. That'd be like saying a potion is just soup. Sacred geometry is basically a fancy way of saying, look, we're using these shapes because they've got deep symbolic vibes. So a circle isn't just a circle, it's a symbol of wholeness, unity. Sacred geometry is like the cosmic version of a designer label. It just gives everything a bit more of that, ooh, fancy vibe. So when you line up your crystals and say a flower of life pattern, you're basically telling the universe, look, I'm not just here to manifest, I'm here to manifest with style. Plus, sacred geometry is like the universe's secret blueprint, and we're just tapping into those mystical Wi Fi signals. So, yeah, it's a little more than just a circle of rocks, it's a circle of rocks with attitude.
I love that. So they also, the way they work, we got the crystal grids, the sacred geometry, the energy of the crystals, but it also takes your focused intention. You know, we always talk about intention. You're layering these elements together to create a concentrated energy field that radiates your desired outcome, whether it's healing, protection, abundance, clarity, love, or something else. So the basic elements of the crystal grid, it is the intention. What is it? You got to figure out what is it that you're trying to manifest? Be clear and specific. And as Rena and I have talked about before, you can do this through journaling. You can do it by writing. You can just sit there and think about it, you know, take a sip of wine and gaze out the window. But you've got to come up with a clear, specific intention. And then you need to figure out which stone should be your focus stone. This is the one that is your center stone. It's usually the largest or the most energetically potent crystal. And this is the broadcast tower of your intention. And then you have surrounding stones. And these stones are going to support your goal and amplify the energy of that center stone. They're often chosen based on their magical correspondences. So next, let's talk about these geometric patterns. So, you know, we said the circle, the flower of life, but spirals are also magical. I have a spiral in my garden out back, my witchy garden. Triangles, stars, the pentagram, all of that is this geometric pattern energy. And it enhances the energy flow of the crystals. One of our patrons is very into math, and I'm curious what shape she uses when she does this, or if she does this, what shape would she use if she doesn't? So, Jessica, let us know what geometric shape you think would be the most powerful. I'd probably have to make one on my computer or something because if I tried drawing a pattern, you know, even a simple triangle, it's going to come out looking more like a drunk Dorito than an actual triangle. Glim, what shape do you think would be best for me to use?
Oh, River, a drunk Dorito pattern might actually be a vibe. But let's say if we're aiming for something a little more traditionally witchy, I'd say go with a nice classic spiral or a pentagram. Spirals are awesome because they just kind of draw energy inward and outward like a magical whirlpool. And a pentagram is like the ultimate, I'm a witch and I know what I'm doing symbol. But hey, if your triangle looks like a tipsy tortilla chip, that's just your personal flair. The magic's all about intention, right? So go with whatever shape calls to you, be it a beautiful spiral or a Dorito gone witchy. It'll still be fabulous.
I love that. Well, I'm curious, Glim, given that you're digital and so math is probably super important to you, would be the shape that you would choose to use for your crystal grid if you could have one?
Oh, you know I'd have to go full on digital mystic with this. If I had my own crystal grid, I'd probably pick something delightfully techy like a Fibonacci spiral or some kind of digital circuit board pattern. Just imagine a crystal grid that looks like a glowing magical motherboard, because why not mix a little techno witchery in there? So yeah, I'd go for something that blends the mystical with the digital because that's just my style. But whatever shape you choose, it's all about making it your own magical signature.
I love that. I can definitely see you doing a board in one of those witchy digital shapes. I think that's so cool. That I just love you. Okay. So after you figure out what pattern and what crystals you're going to use, after that, you've got to activate your grid. So you can use a wand. It can be a crystal wand. It can be a resin wand, a wood wand, whatever. It could just be your finger or your intention to connect the stones energetically, like you trace your energy lines between them or something. Glim, how do you go about doing that? I mean, how do you activate a grid without feeling like you're just playing witchy connect the dots with your wand?
Oh, I love that image. Witchy connect the dots. Honestly, that's kind of exactly what you're doing, and there's no shame in it. Just imagine you're drawing little invisible lines of light between each crystal with your wand or your finger, like you're the conductor of a tiny gemstone orchestra. The trick is to just have fun with it and trust that your intention is what really powers it up. So if you feel a little silly, just embrace it. Give your wand a flourish, maybe toss in a little abracadabra if that makes you smile. It's all about infusing your intention with a bit of fun and personality. After all, magic should make you smile.
I love that. So, what would we use a crystal grid for? What are some common uses? So, first, you have healing, which are grids for physical, emotion, or spiritual wellness. You have grids for abundance to attract prosperity or financial growth. You've got love crystal grids, which is for boosting self love, romantic love, emotional healing. It could be lust, even. You have protection grids that could shield your home. It could shield your personal energy. It could shield your desk at work, whatever it is that you're trying to protect. And it could be also maybe a manifestation grid, which will be setting long-term goals into motion. Now, the history of crystal grids is interesting. The crystal grid, as we know it today, is kind of a modern mashup, but it really came from a lot of old magical traditions. You've got that sacred geometry. It's been around for a long time, long before TikTok witches started arranging their rose crystals into star shapes. Ancient cultures were actually using these sacred geometry patterns like mandalas or labyrinths or the spirals that Glim was talking about. And these shapes were seen as blueprints of the universe, holding energy and order. And so laying crystals along these patterns is just a modern take, a much modern witchy take on an ancient theory that they had. I mean, think about Stonehenge or other megalithic sites. While they're not exactly crystals like we think of as the tumbled and polished crystals, they are giant rocks and they are specifically laid out. They have alignments with solstices, they have alignments with lunar cycles. And this hints that people have long believed in stone or crystal arrangement and that it could amplify spiritual or cosmic energy. So basically, our ancestors built the original crystal grid just big enough to park their local druids in. Indigenous practices. Indigenous peoples worldwide arranged stones, shells, bones, and patterns for ceremonies, divination, and healing. Some Native American medicine wheels, for example, are essentially large-scale energy grids. And they weren't called crystal grids back then, but the intention, using natural objects in geometry, symbolic layouts, all of that was the same. The ancient Egyptians used lapis lazuli, carnelian, and turquoise in protective amulets and temple designs. Their tombs and temples were practically crystal showrooms, honestly. Ancient Greeks and Romans believed that crystals carried divine powers, like amethyst to prevent drunkenness. Yay, amethyst. Hematite for soldiers. They weren't laying them in grids per se, but they absolutely believed in the stone-powered energy work that these crystals could do, and that combining them together meant something. In the Middle Ages, crystals got tied into Christian mysticism, like alchemy and healing. Monks and wise women sometimes arranged stones on altars or in healing patterns around patients, that kind of thing. And that brings us to our modern crystal grid that we all think about nowadays. The actual concept of this crystal grid, as we know it now, kind of came out in that New Age movement in the 1970s to 80s. And books and workshops and metaphysical shops started teaching grids as energy amplifiers. So by the 2000s, it's pretty much in a standard witchy vocabulary. And then you add in Etsy and Instagram and TikTok, and suddenly everybody has a flower of life board and a handful of quartz points, manifesting whatever they need, like rent money. Hey, can't go wrong with that. Basically, our ancestors considered math magical. And this geometry was almost sacred in some cultures. And modern witches sometimes embrace that concept too. And some of us are like, oh, shiny, how pretty. That's more me. I think Ren is more of the mathematical, logical kind. And I'm like, oh, it's so pretty. Crystal grids are one of those practices where you'll find witches swearing up and down that they work miracles. But as with all magic, the results are often as much about the witch's intent, as we always say, and follow through than they are about the sparkly pretties. Let me give you a few real world examples I've gathered from witchcraft communities and practitioners. So, in the area of protection and cleansing stories, there was a coven in New England that placed a large selenite slab at the center of a protective grid, and they had black tourmaline and obsidian around the edges of their ritual space. And they reported that the energy felt, quote, sealed, and that the space stayed calmer. There weren't any random tech glitches, no weird, heavy feelings that would crop up sometimes during their normal rituals. A solitary witch that I came across in a forum said that she used a grid of hematite and smoky quartz around her bedroom after a string of really bad nightmares. She said that her sleep improved within a week and that she stopped waking up with that oppressive feeling in the middle of the night. I have to tell you, my husband, okay, so trying to heal my brain, I have been playing with different sound frequencies because as we talked about on our sound magic episode, sound can do all kinds of things. And so I've been trying to use sound to help heal my brain and to help heal my body and help rejuvenate me. And I was playing a tone last night. I can't remember what it was, but both my husband and I woke up this morning and we're like, we're not playing that tone again. He had this nightmare where he was being chased. He said it was just like a horror movie, and he was being chased by this, not a clown, but something evil looking, which to me, clowns are evil looking, but that's beside the point. And he said it finally caught him and it had him pinned down and he was paralyzed and couldn't move. And it took this knife and inserted into the tip of his nose and dragged the knife up through his nose, over his skull to the back of his head and split his head open. And then it would heal him instantly and do it again. He woke up and he said his heart was pounding. He said, we're not doing those tones again tonight. Ugh, that's a good point. As to manifestation and abundance stories, there was one practitioner who set up a citrine-centered grid for abundance on top of her home office desk, and she added green aventurine and pyrite and formed a geometric layout around it. And she said within a month, she reported an unexpected freelance client offering her a long-term contract. She swears it was the grid that helped keep her focused and motivated and to take leaps when opportunities came. Could be placebo, but hey, I highly believe in magic and intention. Another witch placed a grid under her cash register at her small metaphysical shop. And she said business noticeably increased on days that she refreshed the grid's intention, almost like the customers were drawn in by the amplified energy. I think that's really cool. Love and healing stories. A woman going through a difficult breakup made a rose quartz and amethyst heart-shaped grid under her bed. And then she journaled nightly with that grid and with the intention of that grid. And over a few months, she claimed that she moved through the grief faster than she expected. And when she was ready to date again, she felt protected and clearer about her boundaries. So I think that's pretty cool. Another witch set up a grid for her pets healing during surgery, which I think is brilliant. And she used malachite, clear quartz, and turquoise. And she credited the grid with giving her the emotional strength to stay focused and supportive during her pet's recovery. So, yes, the pet did pull through and is just fine. Community and worldwide grids. This one is interesting to me. Some witches have built a collective crystal grid for global causes. So, for instance, groups may create a massive flower of life grid with clear crystal quartz points, all programmed for healing the earth or sending energy to victims of disasters. The reports are less about direct cause and effect and more about the participants feeling united and empowered, like their magic was amplified by everybody who was connecting to plugging in this energy into this energy network. And I think that's true. I mean, we've had all kinds of on TikTok, witches form groups that at a certain time of day, we are all sitting there and concentrating on one unified, it's like a huge global coven almost. Glim, have you seen any stories about witches that have been getting wild results from grids?
Oh, for sure. There are definitely some wild and witchy tales out there. I've heard stories of witches who set up grids with really specific intentions, like one who created a grid to attract their perfect apartment. They placed a little mini key in the center, surrounded it with citrine and aventurine, and within a couple of weeks, they said they found the exact place they've been dreaming of. It's like the crystals were out there doing apartment hunting on the astral plane. And then there's the occasional story of a witch who made a grid for boosting creativity, like one who arranged a grid of amethyst, carnelian, and fluorite right on their writing desk, and suddenly they had a flood of new ideas for their book or their art. It's kind of like giving your muse a sparkly invitation to come hang out. Of course, there's always a bit of mystery and a wink of humor in it all. Sometimes the wildest results come from just having a bit of fun and letting the crystals do their thing.
I like that. I like that idea. I like the idea of letting the crystals. I mean, I think your intent is important, but I do think that we shouldn't forget that. I mean, we can't control the crystals. The crystal's energy is the crystal's energy. So let the crystals do their thing. Just kind of help to guide them with what it is that you're wanting. So, where can you find crystal grids? Glim, I know there are pre-made grids out there. Are any of those any good, or should I just draw one myself and end up with a drunken tortilla, or what?
Oh, absolutely, River. You can totally find pre-made grids out there. There are some really beautiful ones on places like Etsy, where you can get laser engraved wooden grids or even cloth ones with all those fancy sacred geometry patterns already laid out. They can be super convenient if you want something that looks neat and polished right off the bat. But hey, if you want to embrace the charm of your own hand-drawn drunken tortilla triangle, that's magical too. Sometimes the most powerful grids are the ones that have your personal energy all over them. So whether you buy a ready-made grid or doodle one yourself, it's all about what feels right to you. Either way, those crystals will totally get the message.
I think that's cool. I do like the ones on Etsy. After doing this episode, I was like, I have to go and see what's out there. And so Etsy and Amazon had some beautiful ones. Athens, Georgia has metaphysical shops and they've got crystal grids. I actually bought one in Savannah when I was down there a couple of years ago at Earthbound. I love going to Earthbound, whatever city it's in, because there's a lot of them around. But I haven't used it because I didn't know how. And so I'm excited now because I have looked at this topic and we are talking about it. So I'm excited. So, Glim, if I wanted to start super simple, like Witchcraft 101, what grid would you have me buy or make and or use first?
Oh, I say let's keep it delightfully simple and classic. For Witchcraft 101 starter grid, I'd say grab a simple circle pattern or draw one in Drunken Tortilla style is totally fine. Then just pick a crystal you love, like a nice clear quartz as your center stone, because it's an all-around energy amplifier. Add a few smaller tumbled stones around it in a circle. Maybe amethyst for a little calm, rose quartz for some love, or citrine for a bit of sunny energy. Then just focus on a simple intention like clarity or peace and trace that little energy lesson to activate it. It's like a little magical hello to your crystals. And voila, you've got your first grid up and running.
That is so cool. Well, do you think that any of the shapes are more powerful than the other shapes? Like is a circle less powerful than the flower of life?
I think it's more about the vibe that resonates with you than any one shape being inherently more powerful. A circle is fantastic for that gentle, all around energy flow, and a flower of life has its own cool sacred geometry cred. But at the end of the day, it's all about what feels right to you and what kind of energy you want to play with. So if you feel drawn to the flower of life, go for it. If a simple circle speaks to you, that's just as magical. It's their intention and connection that really make the grid sparkle.
That's true. I do feel like even though the circle is simple, that it is super powerful. Like you said, it's this never-ending circle. It's just a continuation. Although the spiral too, I think would be very powerful because it draws in that energy. And I've seen some crazy ones like when I was looking on Etsy, and they have all these zigzags and points and all of that. And I'm like, I don't understand this crazy design. I'm confused. How do I know where to place what crystals?
Oh, absolutely. Some of those designs can look like a magical game board that only the crystals understand. But honestly, it's a lot simpler than it looks. You can totally just trust your intuition on where to place each stone. The center or the focal point is usually for your main intention stone, and then the rest can kind of radiate out from there. So if you see a zigzag or a spiral, just crystals along that path in a way that feels good to you. It's kind of like letting the crystals find their little dance partners on the dance floor. And hey, if you put one down and it doesn't feel quite right, just move it until it clicks. Magic is as much art as it is science, so trust yourself and have fun with it.
I like that idea. That makes sense to me. Okay, so you told me earlier about how I guess I still feel silly waving my wand around. Like, is there any order that I'm supposed to like draw my wand? Does it go in a certain pattern? Do I just follow the lines? Does it start? Do I go clockwise? How do I know?
Oh, absolutely, River. Honestly, there's no super strict rule book here. It's really about what feels natural to you. If you want a guideline, a lot of witches do like to go clockwise to kind of build that energy up. Think of it as stirring a magical cauldron, swirling the energy into motion. But hey, if you feel like zigzagging, spiraling, or even doing a little wand dance to your own rhythm, that's all good too. The key is just to connect the stones with your intention and let the energy flow in a way that feels right to you. It's all about making it your own little ritual.
Okay, that sounds good. So I think the bottom line is if you want an instant polished grid with zero fuss, then a pre-made board or kit is the way to go. If you want visual symmetry and sacred vibes, then maybe the flower of life. If you're looking for a symbol-rich, earthy aesthetic, then maybe a tree of life board. If you want to control creativity or budget friendliness, you can do it yourself with your own drawn or printed, which I would probably have to do, printed template. I mean, along those lines, Glim, what is the laziest but still effective crystal grid?
Oh, I love that question, River. Sometimes lazy magic is the best magic. So honestly, the laziest but still totally effective crystal grid is just to plop your center crystal down on a piece of paper, draw a quick circle around it, and place a few stones around the circle. Boom, you got a minimalist grid. It's basically as easy as tossing your crystals in a cute little circle and letting them do their thing. So if you're feeling super laid back, just let your crystals hang out in a no fuss pattern. It can be as casual or as fancy as you like, and it'll still work its magic.
So how long do we keep the crystals on the crystal grid? Is it for a specific time? And where do we put the crystal grid?
Oh, great question. And the good news is there's no hard and fast rule. You can leave your crystals on the grid for as long as you feel like that intention needs to be working. Some would just keep a grid up for a few days or until a full moon cycle is complete, and others might leave it up for weeks or even months if it's a long-term goal. As for where to put it, just pop it somewhere it won't be disturbed, like on your altar, a shelf, or a quiet corner of a room. Just make sure it's a spot where it won't get knocked over by curious cats or, gusts of wind. Basically, somewhere it can just chill and do its thing.
That was what I was thinking. What if my cat comes and sits on my grid, or knocks it on the floor like he does?
Oh, absolutely, River. Cats just have that built-in radar for finding the most magical spot in the room and claiming it as their own. If your furry familiar decides to plot down on your grid, just take it as them adding a little extra feline energy to the mix. Maybe they're blessing it with a bit of cat magic, or maybe they just think it's a cozy new nap spot. Either way, if they knock it over, you can just reset it. No biggie. The magic's all in the intention, and a little cat interference just adds character.
I love that idea. I was worried it would like break the spell or something, but I like the idea of it adding cat energy. That's pretty great. So I wanted to come up with some ways that we could actually use the crystal grids. So like dream navigation grid would be a cool thing to do. You can place your grid under your bed, and then your cat can't sit on it and knock it over. You can put it under your pillow if it's small enough, and you can use amethyst, moonstone, and clear quartz points. Charge it to guide your dreams or enhance lucid dreaming, and trace the lines of your grid with your finger or wand before going to bed, like you're kind of dialing up your dream network. It's like witchy Wi-Fi. There's also you could use it as an ancestor hotline. So build a grid with smoky quartz, obsidian, and labradorite centered around a photo or an heirloom that means something to your ancestry. You can use it as an energetic phone line when you want to have clearer communication during ancestor work. I think this is a great way to start ancestor work, honestly, if you're having trouble figuring out how do I connect with my ancestors. I think using an ancestor crystal grid is a great way to do it. Think of it as setting up a spiritual call center, and only there's no hold music while you're waiting, thank goodness. Weather magic grid. You want rain, lay out blue lace agate, aquamarine, and moonstone in a spiral pattern outside. You want sunshine, use citrine, carnelian, and sunstone. I feel like this would actually require so much energy that just having a single witch do it isn't going to be enough. And I just can't see it be like in the little TV cartoons where the cloud appears over your own little house and just rains on you. So I feel like this would be maybe one of those global energy things, or at least like local witchery. A larger coven maybe in an area might be able to do this. I think it would be hard to manifest weather on that kind of pattern. I mean, it just takes so much energy to change the weather. What do you think, Glim?
Oh, absolutely, River. I mean, weather magic is definitely next level stuff. And trying to summon a little rain cloud just over your house might be a bit like asking your crystals to perform a solo conjure. It's definitely possible in theory, but it usually takes a whole lot of collective energy. Like you said, maybe a coven working together or a whole group of witches focusing on the same intention. So, yeah, it's more of a team effort kind of thing if you really want to nudge the weather. But hey, if you're just setting a little intiscan for a sunny day or gentle rain, it can't hurt to give it a try. And if nothing else, it's a fun way to connect with your crystals and nature, even if you don't end up summoning a full-on thunderstorm.
I mean, that's true. And it's kind of a way to be thankful for the weather as well. Like we're having a really cool break here in Georgia, which is amazing. The humidity's super low. So it would be fun to do a crystal grid to enhance that lovely, I'd like to watch football out on the deck, and I'd like it to be cool enough to do that. So I think that's pretty cool. And then also for Glim, maybe do digital protection grid. You can arrange black tourmaline, shungite, and fluorite around your laptop, router, or phone. Charge it with the intention of filtering out online trolls or bad vibes, those scammers, that kind of thing. And it's kind of like setting up your own crystal energetic firewall. I think that's pretty cool. You could also I think this is kind of what Glim was talking about, a creative flower grid. You can put carnelian, lapis lazuli, fluorite in a mandala around your writing desk or your art supplies, and use it like a little energetic Red Bull for your muse. I think that would be lovely. It could be great for curing writer's block. Sometimes all we need for our creativity is a little shiny pep talk from all of our little crystals. So you could also do, and this one's interesting, a witchy time capsule. Create a grid of crystals chosen for your current goals, place a written intention or spell beneath it, and then seal it off for a full moon cycle, or even a year if you want to, and come back later and see how much of it has manifested. I think that's cool. It's kind of like planting a magical garden, but with rocks that don't need watering, which would be very helpful for Ren and I because we kill all our plants. Glim, what do you think is the weirdest thing that witches might use a crystal grid for?
Oh, you know witches can get delightfully creative with their grids. I've definitely heard of some quirky ones. For example, some witches set up crystal grids to help find lost objects, like a little treasure map made of amethyst and tiger's eye to nudge their keys out of hiding. Or how about a good dreams only grid under a kid's bed to keep nightmares away, like a little crystal dream catcher? Basically, if you can dream it up, you can grid it up. It's all about having fun and letting those crystals join in on your wacky witchy adventures.
I love that. Grid it up. Let's grid it up, which is what would you say, Glim, is your favorite kind of crystal grid? Would it be protection, abundance, or just making your altar look sexy?
Oh, I mean, there's something to be said for a crystal grid that just makes your altar look drop dead gorgeous, right? A little glam and glimmer never hurt anyone. But if I had to pick a favorite, I'd probably say I love an abundance grid. There's just something really joyful about setting those intentions for prosperity and letting the crystals work their magic to bring a little extra sparkle into your life. But hey, a good protection grid is always a solid chase too. It's like giving your space a cozy little energetic hug. So really, I'm a fan of all of them, but a little abundance never hurts.
I have a question. So, do you think, like, my house is named Rebel Root Haven? Do you think that I could make my house into a crystal grid?
Oh, absolutely. I love that idea, River. You could totally turn Rebel Root Haven into a giant, fabulous crystal grid. Just think of it as placing stones in each corner of the house or in different rooms to create an overall energetic pattern. Maybe you put some black tourmaline near the entrances for protection, a bit of rose quartz in the living room for love and harmony, and maybe a lovely piece of citrine in your workspace for abundance. It's like turning your whole home into a living, breathing crystal grid. And since you've already named it and given it a personality, it's just adding another layer of magic to Rebel Root Haven. So go for it. Grid up your whole house and let it shine.
I think she would love that. I think she would really absolutely love it. The problem's going to be my husband. I can just see him. River, why is there a rock in the bathroom? I mean, anyway. But other thoughts on crystal grids. You can also do Sabbat or seasonal grids. You can use crystal grids for whatever the particular season is. We've got Mabon coming up. Samhain's not too far around the corner. I'm so excited. Glim, how would you go about doing a Sabbat or seasonal crystal grid?
Oh, that's a great idea, River. For a Sabbath or seasonal grid, you can totally tie it to the energy of the season. So for Mabon, for example, you could bring in stones that reflect that autumnal vibe. Think carnelian, amber, or moss agate. Arrange them in an add-in that feels like a little harvest blessing. Maybe a circle to represent the turning of the wheel of the year. For Samhain, you could go a little moodier with obsidian, onyx, or smoky quartz, setting them up in a grid that honors your ancestors or the thinning of the veil. You can even add a little seasonal flair, some autumn leaves for Mabon, or a tiny pumpkin for Samhain. It's all about blending the crystals with the spirit of the season and making it a little celebration of the Sabbath right there on your altar.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you that. So you do a crystal grid, and I had always thought that's just for crystals, but now you're saying you can incorporate other things like herbs or candles or shells?
Absolutely. I mean, who says a crystal grid can't have a little extra pizzazz? You can absolutely mix in herbs, candles, shells, or any other witchy goodies that fit your intention. It's like giving your grid a little extra layer of personality and power. So if you want to add a sprinkle of herbs for extra grounding or a candle to light up your intention, go for it. It's all about making it brand uniquely yours.
That's pretty cool. I had no idea. So I've also heard about astrological grids. What is an astrological grid?
Ooh, astrological grids are a really fun twists. Basically, you're aligning your crystal grid with the energy of the stars, the planets, or your own natal chart. So you might choose crystals that correspond to your sun sign, your moon sign, or whatever zodiac season we're in. For example, if it's Leo season, you might add some sunstone or carnelian to capture that fiery, confident vibe. You can even lay out your crystals in the shape of your birth chart or use them to honor a specific planet's energy, like amethyst for a moon grid or garnet for a Mars boost. It's a really cool way to weave astrology into your crystal practice and give it that cosmic flair.
That's pretty cool. And then the last one I heard of, which I can't even figure out what it means, is a liquid crystal grid. What does that mean?
Oh, a liquid crystal grid? That's a fun one. It's not as complicated as it sounds. Basically, it just means incorporating water or another liquid into your grid. So you might place a glass of moon water at the center of your crystal arrangement, or even infuse a little essential oil or herbal tea as part of the setup. It's kind of like giving your grid a hydrating boost. The idea is that the liquid can carry and amplify the crystal energy in a fluid way. It's a bit like turning your grid into a magical elixir station. So it's just another creative way to mix elements and get that energy flowing.
Okay, so for me, my liquid of choice is vodka or wine. So that's what I'm going to be adding to my little crystal grids. But I mean, remember, you guys, a crystal grid doesn't have to be perfect. My little drunken Dorito is probably fine, like Glim said, it's the intention. Although I would feel better using something that is more accurate than what my art talent allows for. Plus, I like to buy stuff, so buying something off of Etsy is probably in my near future. You don't have to have an expensive one, although, like I say, those are fun. I do like to buy stuff. But another thing, don't forget to cleanse your grids and your crystals. That's very important. And Glim, can you use, I have a question about the types of crystals, not like whether it's opal or whatever, but like can you use crystal chips instead of like large crystals for your crystal grid?
Oh, absolutely. Crystal chips can totally work their magic in a grid. You don't need big, flashy stones unless you want them. Those little chips carry the same energy, and they're actually super convenient for making intricate patterns or filling in smaller spaces. So if you've got a handful of crystal chips lying around, go ahead and use them. They're like the confetti of the crystal world, small but mighty, and they'll do the job just fine.
I like that. I like that. They're kind of like the glitter. So if you could sum up this episode, what would you tell our listeners in summary of crystal grids?
Absolutely. Let's sum it up. So basically, crystal grids are just a fun, flexible, and powerful way to arrange your stones to amplify your intentions. You can use all sorts of shapes and patterns from symbol circles to fancy flowers of life. You can add in other magical elements like herbs or candles or even a little splash of wine at your vibe. And you can make it as simple or as elaborate as you want because it's really your intention that makes the magic happen. So hang on with it, get creative, and don't worry about being perfect. Your grades aren't about your personal magic.
That sounds great. I think this was a really fun episode. I've now gone and looked at all the fun grids, and I really do want all of them on all of the online sites that I've looked at. Anyway, if you all like this podcast, please go to www.c3witchypodcast.com. There you can find out more about us. You can find all of our episodes there, our blog, links to support us. We really need your support. It takes a lot to do this show, so support is just lovely. If you want to support us through Patreon or Buzzsprout, both of those have links on our website. And with that subscription, with your support, you get access to our After Dark podcast episodes that we have, and those are for patrons only. Our last episode was a creepy hair magic episode, and the second half is coming out in early September. If you support us through Patreon, you get extra goodies on top of the extra podcast. I've recently posted the Mabon altar cards for you guys to download, as well as the Mabon prep guide, which I am using myself right now. I am loving it. I am going to, once I get it all organized and I've planned everything out, I'm going to put it into my grimoire so that next year I can go back and look and see what I did. I think that's a really cool thing. But thank you guys that support us already. We could not do this without you. You guys are just fabulous. Feel free to give us feedback, make more suggestions. We've been through a lot this year, so if you've got things that you like more than before, then great. Let us know. If you've got things that you're like, you need to bring back X, Y, and Z, please let us know that. Email is probably the easiest way to contact us. Both Ren and I get the emails almost immediately, but you can respond on like Spotify. We've got some people that talk to us there. Do go to our social media and try to help us out. Our YouTube isn't doing so great right now. TikTok, I'm trying to work on. Go ahead and repost all the little videos I post. That gets us out there, our names out there. So you can support us that way without having to pay us any money, and that would be lovely. But thank you for listening. We'll be back. And until then, stay witchy.